These streets are not your typical streets. Some are paved, some are small, some seem to never end. Take a look at some of the most unique roads in the world that prove humans can try to journey through almost anything. 23. The narrowest street in the world. In the little German city of Reutlingen sits the narrowest street ever carved into a landscape, Sprurhofstrasse. City planning wasn't the best in the previous centuries of Europe, and as a result, there's a lot of narrow streets. But none measures as thin as the one that sits between two 18th century buildings, measuring to over 65 feet long, yet only 12.2 inches or 13.1 centimeters wide at its narrowest point. 22. One steep residential street. This street is so steep that every year, an event referred to as a gut-buster takes place. Welcome to Baldwin Street, the steepest residential street in the whole world, according to the Guinness Book of World Records. Located in Dunedin, New Zealand, Baldwin Street was named after William Baldwin, the provincial councillor and newspaper founder. It runs about 1,150 feet or 350 meters long, with an average slope of 1 to 5. 21. The Old Youngest Road. Whether you know it by the name Groves Road, Coroico, or the Road of Fate, the Old Youngest Road stays constant in its daunting structure. Located in the youngest region of Bolivia, this road connects La Paz to Tsunamis, said to be the most dangerous road in the world. Along the road, you'll see marks where other vehicles have fallen. Despite its reputation, it proved a popular destination for adrenaline junkies back in the 1990s. 20. Where bodies shrink. After some debate, we can mostly conclude that this small, unnamed street in Rippetransone, Italy is the narrowest in the whole country. It engaged in some rivalry with another narrow street located in Italy called Raigicelli a few years ago for the title of Narrow Street. Who won? Well, which street are we talking about? The Rippetransone Street measures a bit wider at 16.93 inches or 43 centimeters, though it proves the most popular. It has been called a place where bodies shrink and dreams come true. 19. Another narrow street. Moving on from Italy to Canada, we get to Fantan Alley, a street in the oldest Chinatown in the country. Unlike a lot of the other narrow streets on this list, Fantan Alley features places to shop, a perfect place if you're looking for something vintage or quirky. At its narrowest point, it only measures to about 35 inches or 0.9 meters wide. Long ago, it served as part of a gambling district, full with restaurants and opium dens. 18. The widest street in the world. We talked about all those slender streets, now let's talk about the widest one. Honoring Argentina's independence on July 9th is the road called Nueva de Julio Avenida, located in the capital city of Buenos Aires. Being in the most populous city in the country, July 9th Avenue has 7 lanes going in each direction and about 1.9 miles or 3 kilometers long. If you take a trip here, you'll also catch some shows from different street performers that start when the traffic light turns red. 17. The Tunnel in the Rock. Right on the side of the Taihang Mountains, a road carves through, allowing the villagers along the way access to the outside world. For years, the villagers had very little time to come and go as they pleased. In the 1970s, many of the villagers sold their livestock in order to gather money for tools to make a road. By 1977, the tunnel opened. What's funny is that a town once isolated has become a popular tourist destination thanks to the construction of the Guoliang Tunnel. 16. The Atlantic Ocean. Let's travel up to one of the northernmost regions of the Atlantic Ocean, Norway. Passing through the archipelago on the Norwegian Sea, the Atlantic Ocean Road opened in the late 80s, costing Norway about 122 million Norwegian krone. It measures to approximately 5 miles or 8.2 kilometers long, featuring the Storseisundet Bridge, the longest of all the bridges on the road. 15. The South Pole Traverse. It sounds like an impossible journey that lots of people have tried their hand at. And really, it kind of is. The McMurdo South Pole Highway, also called the South Pole Traverse, measures to a monstrous 995 miles or 1,601 kilometers along the compacted snow of the Antarctic. Flags mark the route, which is only distinguished by leveled snow as it is not paved. 14. The Long Sealed Road. Measuring to about 1,030 miles or 1,660 kilometers between South Australia and Western Australia, the Air Highway counts as the only sealed road that links these two states together. Through the Nullarbor Plain, the Air Highway opened in 1942 and was named after the first European explorer who crossed the plain by land, Edward John Eyre. 13. Narrow for America. If you go to older countries in Asia or Europe, then this street really doesn't seem that narrow compared to a lot of the haphazardly made streets between buildings. However, in America, it's a different story. Measuring to a whopping 7 feet wide, Treasury Street in St. Augustine, Florida, is apparently the narrowest street in the United States. As the story goes, it was designed so that it would be wide enough to fit 2 men and a chest of gold, but not too slender for a horse and carriage to go through. 12. The High Road. You need to travel to southern France in order to see the tallest bridge in the world. It might be a far journey for some of you, but to be able to see this thing and drive along it could just be worth it. The Millau Viaduct Road consists of 4 lanes and stands at a height of 1,125 feet or 343 meters tall. Crossing through Gorge Valley of the River Tam, this viaduct bridge cost about 394 million euros to construct, taking 3 years to complete. 11. Bah Humbug. From that title, you might have guessed the name of this street. Ebenezer Place not only brings to mind a certain Christmas Scrooge, but also is the name of the shortest street in the world. Ebenezer Place can be found in Wick, Scotland. Along this street sits Number 1 Bistro, the only address on the street. It measures to 6 feet 9 inches or 2.06 meters, opening in 1883 when Ebenezer Place was constructed. 10. A complicated interchange. It almost makes you think of some mid-century English play, but no. A complicated interchange, or rather, the most complicated interchange, references the Judge Harry Pregerson interchange located in none other than the traffic mecca of the world, Los Angeles. Entries and exits go in all directions, running between the I-105 to the I-110. Opening in 1993, it features not 1, not 2, and not even 3, but a 4-level interchange. 9. Crisscrossing the Alps. Just take a look at this and tell us of course that this would be amongst the most scenic drives ever. Winding through the Alps, we return to Italy to talk about Stelvio Pass. Located at 9,045 feet upwards, the Stelvio Pass might be a pretty sight, but extreme caution should be taken when driving on this road. The corners measure to 180 degrees, complete with rather low barriers along the edge, so stay alert. The roads may be slippery with ice as well. 8. Small stairs, small street. In the old town of Gamlestan in Stockholm, Sweden, tucked away between 2 buildings is the Martin Troggsgrand, an alley that only measures to 35 inches or 90 centimeters wide. Named after the merchant Martin Trotzig, one of the richest merchants in the city during the 16th and 17th centuries, you'll also find a small yet long flight of stairs at one end of the alley. 7. Avoid if you can. In the remotest, biggest, and least developed part of Nepal, the Karnali Zone is also home to the Karnali Highway, a force of danger for those who dare to traverse on this road. Linking the Karnali capital of Jumla to Surkhet, the highway measures to 144 miles or 232 kilometers long, yet only 11 miles or 17 kilometers of it is paved. That means the rest is riddled with dirt and potholes along with steep rises and falls. 6. The Old Record. For a time, the Guinness Book of World Records listed Yonge Street as the longest road in the world and said that it ran about 1,178 miles or 1,896 kilometers. However, that was a mistake. This is because Yonge Street does not count as part as Ontario's Highway 11. So really, it only comes up to 53 miles or 86 kilometers long. Oh well. It's still considered a major arterial route anyhow. 5. The String Street. With a name like Stratosphori, which translates from Romanian to English as String Street, it's no wonder how narrow it is, the narrowest in the city of Brasov, Romania, and one of the narrowest in all of Europe. At first, it was supposed to be a corridor for firemen. It measures to 44 to 53 inches, or 11 to 135 centimeters wide, and about 260 feet, or 80 meters long. As small as it is, it serves as a popular tourist attraction. 4. The Hairpins in San Fran. A trip to San Francisco means you have to visit a lot of awesome tourist attractions, one of them being Lombard Street. This one-block section starts in the Presidio and goes to the Embarcadero. It ranks as the crookedest street in the world, zigzagging with about 8 hairpins. Every year, it gets about 2 million visitors, with 17,000 people at the highest during the summertime. 3. Not for claustrophobes. Parliament Street in Exeter, England is a teeny tiny passage that claims it's the narrowest street in the world. But we know that to not be true. Still, at 2 feet 1 inch or 0.064 meters at its narrowest, that's pretty small, since only one average adult can fit between walls that close together. Parliament Street used to be called Small Lane, but the city thought this title sounded too common, and thus a name change during the 1800s proceeded. Technically, it's just an alley and not a street, but the title street brings in way more tourists. 2. The Black Gravel Highway. Karakoram, meaning black gravel, is a large mountain range between Pakistan and China, consisting of about 8 major summits. The highway that runs through it, under the same name, may also be referred to as the China-Pakistan Friendship Highway, or the N35. Karakoram Highway stretches to a length of 1,300 kilometers, or 800 miles in length, connecting provinces in Pakistan to China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. 1. Through the longest road. Norway is also home to the longest road tunnel in the world, Later Tunnel, which opened in 2000 and sees about 1,000 cars every day. It measures to 15.23 miles or 24.51 kilometers long. Imagine being in a long confined space for that distance. For its construction, about 2,500,000 cubic meters of rock had to be removed. It has no emergency exits, which makes a lot of people a little skeptical about going through it, though you can find emergency phones. Which of these would you travel on? Do you prefer the wide open plains and mountain ranges? Or do you think you have the knee strength or the waist size to go through the narrow and steep ones? Say so in the comments, and be sure to like and subscribe.